The SV650's been one of my favourite bikes for a long time. I tend to try and do them up and look after them, keep them clean. I did make a massive mistake one day of buying this. Swapped it for a custom Virago with a couple of quid thrown in as well. Biggest mistake I've ever made. Was told that the engine was running, it was fine. But when it came to it, unfortunately, this put me off messing with bikes for a bit, to be honest, till this came up. I have got another little project sitting in the backyard that I've been playing with over the past 12 months, but more of that later on. This is just focusing on the SV really. Right, so here we are, 2002 SV650S. Been sat in Mickle Trafford on a driveway, no forks for the last 6 years because the lad didn't know how to do the job basically, which was a bit of a shame really, because this could have been a really nice bike. Got it at a very good price, so it's time to have a faff and see how we get on with it. Thought I'd try something new this time. As you can see, it's not just pictures, we're doing videos. I'm actually talking, which I feel very strange about, I must admit, but hopefully this will be from start to finish, and I'll do updates every time I do anything different to the bike. Questions been asked by my son and also a good friend of mine. What are you going to do with it? Well, I don't actually know. I don't think it'll be staying standard, for the simple reason that I don't like the front end on the SV650S. I have thought of Cafe Racer, possibly, but then I had an epiphany one afternoon while I was sat on the toilet, believe it or not, looking at maybe a GSXR 400 twin headlight front end, but we'll wait and see what pans out. Okay, so we nicked the battery off the other project that's waiting for a couple of bits at the moment. Thought we'd check to see what's going on with the electrics. Another unknown, unfortunately, that I didn't know whether it worked or not. The guy told me that the engine actually started 6 years ago, but obviously a lot happens in 6 years. So we tried the headlights, we tried the tail lights, everything's working, even the starter motor turned over. Right, so let's start the strip down. Taking the tank off. This is all speeded up, I don't think you want to be watching this in real time, so speeding it all up, taking the tank away, getting down to the air filter so we can have a look inside. I've got to be careful with the electrics because the key is virtually snapped in half. I'll be off to Timpson's to go and buy a new key for it. Okay, so once we've got the tank off, we're down to the air filter and the air box. Noticed once we'd taken the air filter out, as you can see, it's full of sunflower seeds and all sorts of stuff. Now I'm getting my little intravenous out, as I call it. It's an old oil bottle with a tube on it. Try some fresh petrol into the carbs. I know it turns over, so thought I might as well see whether it'd start or not. It surprised me. Second press of the button and off she went. I was well chuffed. So, up early the next morning, out to the shed. Sun was absolutely gorgeous. Doesn't really show it very well on the video, but it was a beautiful morning. Next job on the cards, taking the fairing off. Again, this is a fairly long-winded process because I've never done it before. Couldn't find a couple of the bolts, but in the end we found them. So I've speeded this up so that you don't have to suffer me rooting around trying to find bits and pieces. Fairings off, so time to take the clocks and some of the wiring all off the front end, so the fairing bracket might as well come off as well, so we'll do it all in one here. As I said before, the glass on the clocks is quite badly crazed and cracked. That can be replaced, that's not an issue, but you can also see that I think he's dropped the bike at some stage, because you can tell by the front fairing anyway, but all the lights are smashed as well at the back, so it doesn't look as though I'll be using those. Next thing on the cards was removing the rear bodywork and also the rear silencer and the subframe. So we set to basically taking off the plastic bodywork. Fairly simple, wasn't too bad of a job. There's only about 6 bolts that actually hold the plastic bodywork on and the grab rail, so they came off fairly easily. Silencer was a slightly different kettle of fish. The lad that had it before me, or somebody before him, had actually fitted a 10mm bolt with a 17mm head. It had completely rusted solid. Tried with a 1/2" socket first, with a spanner on the other side, to no avail, so I then ended up with my 2-foot ratchet bar, and eventually it did move, which I was quite pleased about, to be honest. Last job of the day, trying to get the subframe off. Very, very rusty, so I knew this was going to give me a bit of grief, but it needs to be done. So undid all the wiring, removed it from the subframe itself anywhere that it was attached. Also rear brake reservoir, that had to be removed, and the tail light. Now I did have quite a few problems with rusty bolts here. Had a couple of really stubborn bolts on the near side, so ended up with my cordless drill drilling a couple of bolts out to try and get this plastic under tray off. One I still couldn't get off, so resorted to the good old 4.5" angle grinder with the cutting disc on. Unfortunately the bolt didn't stand a chance, so now, fingers crossed, everything will come off. So that's the plastic under tray out of the way, thank goodness. Just need to remove the rear subframe and then we'll call it a day at that, I think. Okay, so last job of the day was to actually remove the steel subframe. It's held on by 4 hex head screws. I thought they were going to be a bit of a swine to get off, so I'd sprayed them with GT85 the day before, and surprisingly they came out so easily it was unbelievable. It was as though there was no rust on them whatsoever. I'm a bit like a kid in a sweet shop at the moment because everything seems to be going right, so I'm quite chuffed. It was such a sense of relief when all of the bolts except for 2 come out without any drama whatsoever. So subframe's off, I'm relieved, and we can start moving on to the next part of the project. I don't think I'll be having this powder coated. I think I'll probably end up buying a new one, well, second-hand one should I say, off eBay. As you can see, the rust is just unbelievable. Unfortunately, Suzuki's build quality isn't the best. So with that, I will love you and leave you. Next instalment should hopefully be next week sometime, and we'll see how we go. Hopefully I'll find a personality. So all the best, see you on the next vid.